Hey everybody, just thought I'd hop on, or as I like to say, forgive me for I must now confess. I did a few things that you're not supposed to do as a crafter, which is start projects when you still have so many others that you really need to finish up. But for I have sinned. But it's that holiday season, and I was really missing Christmas yarn again. It's soft, it's sparkly. I've been sitting on this one pattern for like 20 years. I think that's how old this thing must be by now. That's just that's how small the dots are. Now I could do a tutorial technically on there's two dots that I missed inside the sun, and you can just basically cross stitch on top of it in a weird way or embroider on top of it to fix it. So now no one can tell that the sun does not have a starburst cross in the middle of it. Nobody can tell. But yeah, I did have another reason to take this off the needles just to check on something and to fix a stitch. This fits my head. So, note to self if you want something smaller, do not cast on 125 stitches. But I had to because the pattern is 123. So, but yeah, it's going to be pretty. All the stun burst coming out of it. And then the other one, I just want to use up this one type of Christmas yarn. Like I've already made two very large projects with that Christmas yarn, whether it's a cowboy shawl, which I added to after I did the pattern for it, and that cape. They're not small projects for lace weight. So all the colors that are left, I'm just originally I thought I'd do another cape because I do love it ever so much. But I've been really hankering for granny stitch. It's not really my go-to thing. Like I've probably made 5 granny squares in my entire life. Just because I thought the stitch was too holy for other projects, which is true. But if I just do a really wide shawl with it, because this will be the short end, and then the long end's going to be this way. So I still have like 5 more cakes of just random Christmas yarn. And so with this gauge, it'll work. And it's still sparkly, and I haven't gotten to the white section yet. And they all fit on my yarn thing. So it works. It's one of those mindless things that you can love. And I can use it all up and finally get to the wool version. And the wool version has a totally different Christmas mix to it. A lot more Victorian. I do have it set to where I believe I should see comments. Yeah. I don't know why it's set to private chat, but yeah. It's after dinner. Grab your cup of tea, coffee, whatever you drink. Tonight is Bigelow's Earl Grey decaf. I'm trying like hell to sleep at night. Hormones are fun when you don't sleep for 48 to 72 hours and still be a human. Yeah, it's been fun. See what else am I still working on? Oh, I did. No, the other one I kind of started right before all those. I kept dreaming about chenille, like one does. Now this is a recycled sweater. That nice like teddy bear golden brown color. And when you recycle chenille, you gotta be really careful with it because even though it's fairly covered with the fiber, when it's recycled, there's a lot more spots that are just raw thread because the thread is what holds together the very soft bits. So at least with crochet, with half double crochet anyway, it's one loop inside of 3 loops. And those 3 loops You should always size down a couple sizes, whether it's knitting needles or crochet hook for this type of chenille, because it makes like if you hold it up to the light, you don't see the light through it. You can't. And with half double crochet, at least with the because there's like that check pattern underneath it, you can follow your stitches that way. Because even with an LED light, it's all by feel. But yeah, here you have your three stitches on there. This is what protects the middle, so you can hide a little bit better when there's a thread part. You can still use the yarn and still, it's like thick, soft burlap. It's so thick. You will not feel the cold in this ever. I do have another ball of this, and this is just gonna be a neck warmer because it's just so soft. And I got relatives that live up north, and they need the extra warm stuff. But yeah, this is like a size G hook, and it looks like a little bit thicker than a sport weight, but that fluffiness just it collapses. So it's like a medium thick lace weight, but looks like a thicker sport weight. If not, just saying. A while back, I had that. It's like fluffy fuchsia cloud yarn that's like very, very fake, but it's stretchy and elasticy. It's not because the stitch necessarily is. It's an elastic yarn, and I finally finished the headband. I could add this to other stuff, but it has a texture like women's pantyhose. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the yarn or stick it back on the internet for sale, see if someone else wants to try. But it wouldn't surprise me if this was used more for like bathing suits or something, or you add it to something else, and something else is what you feel more of. While this is just a pop of color, it would not surprise me any. And it was a lot like a cloud yarn, like thin, fat, thin, fat, thin, fat. So yeah, that one finally got finished. Oh, and I finished this too. I wasn't supposed to make this. This is that cone cotton. I forget where the original cone went, but basically it's just like this stuff. This is just a different color. Where it's like twine, but it's like rope and it's pure mercerized cotton. And then I mixed it with some sparkly, super plasticky. If you put too much of it, it'll feel scratchy. Uh, Sequin yarn. So those were held together, and then just did a four. You know how you do like chain four, chain four, chain four, chain four, and then you get the stitch. That's what this is. And then on the bottom, somewhere around here, I have a whole stack of rubber bands. So I just sewed either end onto a rubber band or a hairband, just black ones by Goody that you put your hair up in a ponytail with. Just use that. Made it stretchy. I didn't feel like getting any elastic from a store. I was good. But that's what's holding this on, and it's great. I would take it off, but I probably would have hat hair, so I'm not. Um, any other projects? I did start a new ball on that green shawl, but I'm hoping it's the last ball. It would mean I only used half of the package that it came in to make this long thing, and I want the project to be over with. I really, really do. Love the stitch. It'll be so pretty. When I block it, it'll be effing gorgeous, but I'm done knitting with mohair, or at least that mohair. I need a new stitch to memorize, or do the crocheted version, or something. I didn't think I'd ever get tired of it, but I'm getting tired of it. Or at this point, maybe it's the time of year where I just start to crave, like you crave chocolate projects that are just easy, forgettable, like all stockinette, all knit, all whatever. Or heck, if you're super crazy and you really want to get good at South American purling, which is when you purl with just your thumb, if you do a project in the round and only purl, one side will look like stockinette. So I'm starting to lean towards that because I don't knit or crochet for the holidays. I mean, I'll do it for me, but I won't do it for family necessarily unless I want a few things to pad out the gift box. But they're never for a specific person. It's like I know they have children. I know where they live is cold. Throw in a scarf and a hat. That's all it is. Do I have that? Oh. Just to say, I asked, like my stitch holder. I was like using safety pins and paper clips. They're fun. It's like, why bother buying anything? Just use what you already got. I was thinking about going live more often. It's just, it's that time of year. They say certain people are more affected by the seasonality of the weather, and I think I'm one of them. Like, I always get extra energy in the spring, and by fall, I really do feel this need to hibernate. So it's like, don't make promises to yourself that you just can't keep. Or at least, maybe if I diversify the videos that I make versus ones where I just complain about society. There's a lot less to complain, though, about right now after the election. There's way less to complain about if you enjoy mental health. I like to enjoy it as often as possible because I still say a way to find God is the same as looking for comedy in everything. It's the same thing. I know there's many arguments against it, but it's what makes the most sense to me. It really does. And somewhere around this office, I have them keep tripping over them and knocking them off the table. Thinking about painting these with either um, the chalkboard paint or there's one where basically it makes a dry erase board paint. I think the white one that makes a dry erase board was a little bit expensive. I'm pretty sure I already bought the chalkboard paint. So if I have two of these, I think of painting it and then with chalk writing Yarn Fund. That's the way to use this. Actually, is one of my favorite brands of tea. Walmart's the only one that I know that has the vanilla Komoro by Harney and Sons. Now, Harney and Sons has a very large collection of teas if you go on Amazon or live near the British Emporium. But don't try their Earl Grey because British Earl Grey doesn't have any of the bergamot in it. So it just kind of tastes like a walnutty tea and don't bother. But all the other ones, they're full flavored, they're great. Those ones, they are what they say they are. I didn't know there was a difference between British Earl Grey and American Earl Grey. American Earl Grey is wonderful. British stuff, I'm not a big fan of the walnut undertone to it. It's a little bit too oddly dark for me. But like the Paris one has that nice raspberry flavor to it. I love their London Fog. They have excellent London Fog tea. What else do I like from them? I've just been on this British tea kick lately, where there's also what was that one called? I know it'll hit me later. Basically, it's owned by Lipton, but they supposedly according to them like they're the number one tea in Britain. Not Harrisville. It's a very British sounding name. But basically, because it's just kind of like a jasmine where you just dunk it 4 or 5 times and it makes a perfect cup of tea. And if you cook it longer than that in the hard boiling water, it gets too bitter. Yorkshire. Was it Yorkshire tea? Let me look it up real quick. It might be Yorkshire tea. Otherwise, Harney and Sons makes every other number one tea coming out of Britain. Yeah, it's Yorkshire tea. They have gold, they have regular, but I still say because of the mix that they've picked, you're boiling water, you dunk it 4 or 5 times, and it's probably strong enough. It's literally like Lipton tea on concentrate. And if you go too long with it in the water, it does get bitter. But when the British talk about a strong cup of tea, that's what they're talking about. Or there's another one that they consider like the workman's tea. This one I've been raving about for years because of the tannins, and I have to be careful how often I drink it. But it's called P&G Tips. Usually, I think it might be changing lately. It comes in a square box with triangle tea bags that are just all shoved in there. It's a lot of tea bags for the price given, and you only need one tea bag for a big old travel mug. It's that strong of a tea. And that one you can sit. That one can boil in the water for at least 5 minutes before it starts to get too strong. But yeah, that one will wake you up. It's like the dark French roast of tea. Because I can't drink coffee anymore. If you want a good coffee recommendation, Cafe Vistauris is one of the best. It mixes very, very well with chocolate and dark chocolate undertones to it. Because it's an espresso grind, extra dark coffee. You can get it at Walmart. But yeah, I like me tea. Well, when I knew I couldn't drink coffee anymore, it's like, what's left? Soda? It's like, no, no, no. There's still tea. There's still tea. I refuse to give up on caffeine, even though I had to give up on coffee. I hope y'all have fun watching the replay because I know I don't do this very often. I know y'all didn't know I was going to be doing this. And I do want to agree with one of the other podcasters that I watch, which is more generic content. And he's like, yeah, I think the way of the future is short video and going live. So guess I got to kick my rear in gear. So I'm pretty good on making shorts, but shorts aren't the same as the interactiveness of video or even live video. So guess I got to be more sociable. Be easier since no longer employed. Still waiting to get the registration on the car so I can go back to driving for Lyft to get that second income going. I still also think it's funny how YouTube all of a sudden realized that you can add like tip buttons to stuff, and it's like, aren't people tired of that yet? I am very frugal with people I send money to, and I prefer personally if I support anyone, just sign me up for annual. It's usually on a night where it's like almost 50% off. But it's someone it's like if I can prove I try to find their content on a daily basis versus like once a week. No, no, if that's the case, that's equal to a movie I can watch for free on YouTube. No. And if you have Chrome for your internet needs, you can watch a lot of good movies for free. And we're talking a little bit better quality than a Hallmark. I suppose I think also Hallmark does have a channel on YouTube. Mm, it's all the same basic story plot, so it's not like you can't go all the way back to when they first started making stuff. The stories will be the same quality, same, B-level celebrity or new folks, and they're not that hard to figure out. They're not complex. It's always semi-funny, romantic. I guess they're comedies. The humor has limits, I find, or it's so tongue in cheek predictable. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not I like this thing or not. But yeah, when you crochet with this kind of chenille, especially you go to any thrift store, look in the sweater section. Maybe this time of year they either have a lot of them or they have like none of them. Or it's people who clean out their closets because I haven't worn this in 10 years and they're rotating again and you find one, you rip it up as gently and as slowly as possible because every time you do, you lose more fibers in it. Said this is a G hook, which is probably the equivalent of like a size 5 knitting needle. Chenille does better when things are tight, and it will last at least another 5, 6 years before it's lost so many fibers that it's no longer the fabric that you once made. Um, I mean, I wish I could show you or explain to you how soft this thing is. And it's all gonna be for neck warmer. This is so soft. I'm still debating if I shouldn't turn it into a balaclava, I think it's called. Or if you go down here, once it gets up to like here, doing the top over it, where keep this straight, reconnects, and then it turns into the hat. But this is teddy bear soft. Keep on debating if I should go into stockings or just regular socks because my feet are so wide. It's kind of the same thing. Oh, was I doing that? I think I grabbed the wrong hook. This was either a J or an I. I think this was an I. Yeah, that's what I was using. What do you know? You can also use a G. Just with a very loose gauge. Yeah, there's a spot. See? It has that missing spot. You can hide it with crochet. No one will ever know it's there. So if you want to go twice as slow, use a G hook. There we go. Yeah, just using more and more of the yarn stash. That is the goal. Trying not to buy anything new, or as I say, go shopping in the stash I already have. Because 9 times out of 10, I have something that I have not knocked off the bucket list yet. Or I have something that's perfectly suitable for whatever. Or I haven't looked through all the cotton yet. Odds are I probably have. Because I usually only pick colors within certain color tones and palettes. So the odds of it not going together is very low. Like, I don't get weird colors of orange. So it's always going to mix. Or the reds are always true reds or a tint of raspberry. So they always go really well with pinks, which go really well with navy blues or periwinkles. Or the only dark green I have is like this faded hunter green, which just goes with everything. Because it's closer to like a turquoise hunter blue green color versus There's no liminess in it, so it just goes. I don't like yellows, so yellow works. If anyone's interested in any patterns that I've made, they're all in the Etsy shop for sale. If you're looking to make some type of robe, I still have the sumo kimono. And if you're taller, just add an extra foot to it. But I still think they make all the yarn. The yarn I use for, I think they still make it. One of those cake yarns. Ended up being like 8 cakes or something. With super chunky crochet. You gotta be careful. As long as that dash is still there, I can still find the stitch. If not, you're going across 3 strands of yarn instead of 2. And that is the fun of chenille. Last time I did a chenille neck warmer, it was all black. I ended up making a lacy pattern on it so I could see the stitches. So at least if there was a hole, I could find it. Okay, hole, 4 stitches, hole, 4 stitches. You count. All right, I think I've talked to myself long enough. Leave a comment below. See if I should do this again. If not, I get the drift. Have a good one, y'all. Don't make anything I wouldn't make. That's not saying much.